Hello everyone, and welcome back to week 4 Exponents 2 video. This video will continue to cover using those rules and laws of exponents. We'll look at a few different problems using those rules and laws. Now, with the laws and the rules of exponents, you can use these rules in different orders and still come up with the same answer. You just have to make sure that you use the rules correctly. So I'll just show you a basic order on how you can solve these problems. Alright, we have 3x to the third, 2y to the second, all raised to the negative second. Now, like before, when we have an exponent outside the parentheses, it gets distributed to every single base on the inside of the parentheses. So we have 3 to the negative second. We have x to the third raised to the negative second, all over 2 to the negative second, and y squared raised to the negative second. Now, we cannot simplify numerical basis with negative exponents as they are. We have to make those exponents positive, and we'll get to that in just a second. Let's go ahead and work with these variables here. X to the third raised to the negative second. That's a power to a power, and like we said before, we multiply those. So 3 times negative 2 would give me negative 6, x to the negative sixth. 2 raised to the negative second will give me y to the negative fourth. Now I have all of these negative exponents, and I need to make the exponents positive. Remember, to change the sign of an exponent, you just move the base to the opposite place of the fraction bar. So if you start off up top, you would move it to the bottom to change the sign, and vice versa, you would move it up top to change the sign. So this 3 to the negative second is going to come down to my denominator, and that's going to make 3 squared. The x to the negative sixth, I'm going to bring it down to my denominator, and that'll make x to the positive sixth. And we'll do the same with the bases that were in our denominator that had negative exponents. 2 to the negative second, move it up, that'll make 2 squared. Y to the negative 4, move it up, that'll make y to the positive 4. Now the only thing left to do is to simplify the numbers. 2 squared is 4, because that's 2 times 2, and 3 squared is 9, because that means 3 times 3. We have all positive exponents. Always look at these fractional numbers to see if they can be simplified, see if they can be reduced. They can't. So we're good. So again, when we have an exponent outside the parentheses, it gets distributed to each one of the bases on the inside. Okay? All right. Now, this one, we have these exponents outside the parentheses, but we happen to have the same base on the inside of the parentheses. So before we distribute, I can take this entire base and move it up. And remember, if I move a base with an exponent over the fraction bar, it'll change the sign of that exponent. So that'll be 3y to the fifth times, if I take this and move it up here, that'll change the sign of that 3. That'll make 3y to the negative third. And remember, when we have like bases being multiplied, we can add the exponents. So I can keep that 3y as my base, and 5 plus negative 3 is simply 2. Now that makes that problem a lot simpler than distributing that 5 and distributing that 3 as an exponent to those bases first. Because now this makes this simply 3 squared and y squared. 3 squared is 9, and y squared is simply y squared. So we get 9y squared. So again, since they had the same base, I just move this one up, change the sign of the exponent, multiply like bases, we add the exponents, and that's what we come out with. Okay. Okay, this one. Well, these bases are different, so I can't do what I did on the last problem. I have to go ahead and distribute these outside exponents to the inside bases. So that makes 3 to the third x squared to the third times negative 2 to the third and x to the first to the third. And then we would simplify the 3 to the third. We would get 27 x squared raised to the third power, power to a power, multiply, we get x to the sixth. Simplify this one, negative 2 to the third. Now remember, that means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, or 4 times negative 2, which equals negative 8. And x to the first raised to the third is simply x to the third. Now we've gotten rid of those outside exponents, we can put our like numbers and bases right beside each other to help us out. So we would have 27 times negative 8 and x to the sixth times x to the third. And we can rearrange those because it's all multiplication, and we can use the associative and commutative property to do that. Now 27 times negative 8 gives me negative 216. Multiply like basis, add the exponents, gives me x to the ninth. So as you can see, we can use all of these rules, and we'll use them in various ways. You can do these in different orders as long as you use the rules correctly, rules and laws correctly. So hang in there with the exponents. I'll see you in the next video.